2-3 years of getting bullied. It's a horrible thing, man. We all get bullied. Everyone can say, oh, I got bullied, whatever. But this was on another level because it was between 3 dudes and went over 2 years. Anyway, so I was pushed, so I'm getting picked on by these guys. I didn't want to go to school. So I got up in a tree and I was feeling sorry for myself, and I tied a rope and I tied a noose, tied it to the tree, and I sat up, put it around my neck, and I thought about like committing suicide, right? But I'd never have the balls to do it. I was just feeling sorry for myself. But I said to myself, I'm gonna go away, I'm gonna become a good fighter, and I'm gonna come back years later and I'm gonna smash them all. That was in my head. The common thing these days of men is taking their lives is struggling with pressure, supporting families and stuff. A big thing that's been happening, it's relationships and women holding kids against men, and that's enough to make men go off the edge. You know, they say men's got to be resilient and, you know, gotta be strong and all that fuck. When the biggest battle was trying to get through sparring and get to the weigh-in. That's half the battle there, and then on the day you fight, you know, it's the fucking last thing you want to do, right? You know what I mean? Like Panthers, and got the big lights and all your friends and family are coming, you know, it's gonna be packed, and you got some dude in front of you that's just gonna try and take your head off, and you're like, fuck, am I gonna be able to perform in it? It's a scary, daunting thing, but good on to anyone that gets in there and does this, you know. Again, it takes balls, takes courage, and it takes commitment, because I'm not about money in business. I've always been about the journey. I'm always about doing cool shit. So, you know, like sometimes that's worked against me, but in life, bro, money's not everything, bro. So it's not only just a gym or a franchise or whatever you want to call it. It's a standard, you know, and standard is where we've got our values. We make everyone aware and help everyone with mental health. Just keeping accountable to keeping good relationships with your family and healthy, because if there ever was a year to be fit and healthy with what we're going on about politics and change and diversity, it's fucking 2026, bro.
Tama Tehuna, welcome, bro. Thank you for letting me in the gym to film this podcast. It's been some time in the making. We've been speaking about this for a while, and we're finally here. Yeah,
it's my first ever podcast. I don't consider myself much of a speaker, but when I was going to do my first one, I wanted to be special, and it was with you.
You shitting yourself or what, bro?
Hey?
You shitting yourself?
Nah, not too bad. It's my place, so, and when you get older, you don't give a fuck as much, so, you know.
It is what it is.
I'm good.
Man, where I want to start is you made a post a couple of days ago, all right, around things are feeling different at the moment in the world, in Australia specifically. What are you noticing?
Obviously, the division. Everyone hates the government right now, and you know, the division and immigration and all that. Obviously, it's also too like social media. But it's weird when you sort of take an outlook and think, oh, how is this making me feel? And then we get into conversations, because it's a hot topic right now, right? It's about the government and stuff like that. And I've never really been into government. You know, I've never, you know, political, you know, issues and stuff like that. And I've never been sort of smart enough to talk about, you know, global issues and government issues. But a good mate of mine was talking about this for years to me, and he would say this and say that, and then, especially over the past sort of 5 years, especially working in the construction industry and seeing things change, obviously with, you know, tax and immigration within the construction industry, and seeing it change massively over the past 5 years, and I'm thinking, oh, look, it is. I can see it all happening, and it is a thing, and you know, so that's why I've kind of reason with the post is everyone's been talking about it, and it's a hot topic, so I just put down, because say with groups and all that sort of stuff, everyone has their, you know, their like their thoughts on and their beliefs and all that sort of stuff, and you know, I've been posting a few things that, you know, on the sort of the conservative side, and I'm sort of just wanted to make it clear in the gym of what we're about, so that's why I sort of set that post. And I spoke, because I put that post, that was my speech, because I wrote it out, and I had to spend a few hours on it, making sure I wasn't going to say the wrong thing, and then so I just put it on our private page that we have, just to sort of say, okay, this is what we're about.
And I guess the biggest thing that stood out for me is like, yes, what's happening in the world is creating division within society, but within your post, at the end of the day, it all came back to community. And bringing community together, focusing on our own health, our own fitness, our own mindset, because at the end of the day, we are not going to be able to combat or fight against what's happening in the world if our own heads, our own household is not in check first. And it's so important that we get ourselves and our household in check. We find a group of like-minded men to come together that we can brainstorm off, that we can create that community together and support each other. And that's exactly what we're doing here, what you're doing here at BroFit. And it's so important.
Yeah, because it's like everyone's big on opinions these days. Opinions don't really. You've got to understand what matters more in life. You know what I mean? And opinions don't matter. Like I had a bit of like a Facebook back and forth thing with a couple of mates, you know, about sharks. My opinions on sharks. I hate fucking sharks. They like sharks. I hate sharks, and I understand they're in their home, but you could go on and on and on, and it really doesn't matter, you know what I mean, about opinions like that and other things. But we're big on, see, like, you know what's amazing about Penrith? We've got a big community of friends. Like half the blokes in here, I used to party with their dads. Do you know what I mean? So we've kept that good connection, and it's because, right, the three main things before religions and how you think in life and race and colour and, you know, what you believe in, what you don't, left, right, especially, all that sort of stuff. The main things is, right, is it's how you treat people, because then that's when you're going to create the friendship, all right? And it's how you like show respect and hold your integrity is another thing, because then we get to know that person, and you know what I mean? And then it's what's in your heart, you know? Not trying to sound like any sort of, you know, but that's what that comes before anything else. So those three things together is what creates a friendship. That's how you become friends, right?
Yeah.
And you keep that integrity going and the respect going, and you become friends for, you know, like the friends we've got going here. Like I've got sons training here, and I've been friends with their dads for I've been in Australia for 30 years. I've been friends with their dads since I come here, because we've kept that same, you know, those same values of integrity and respect for the friendship. So that needs to become, because now everyone's like, oh, you know, he's this religion, and oh, he believes in this, or you know what I mean? Like that does not matter. That's low level case, you know, so to speak. It's about what's in your heart, what sort of you just got to be a good cunt, and that's all that matters, you know. Religions and ideologies and all this shit aside, and that's what's big in politics now, like on the social media, because everyone's got opinions and everyone's writing their opinions. Who gives a fuck about your opinions, really? Sometimes I get caught up in the hype, can't help it. Like recently, it was a big one, is got a guy say he's religious, got one of the boys here, and I've known the family forever. His old man is, you know what I mean, helped my dad, you know, so we're real close, and they're really such a lovely, kind-hearted family, and I like the post of that big chocky guy.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So a lot of guys, he's talking about it, yelling and screaming, he does it. But a lot of his things I agree. But that's all right. That doesn't matter. And I was going against, you know, saying things about this guy I'm talking about. It's like a religion, right? And then so he's, you know, said something about Chucky, oh, this and that. And then I liked the post. And he's going, oh, it called me out and said, oh, I seen you like the post. Let's catch up and speak about this, right? And I was like, oh, sweet, bro. I can't even remember what the post was. I was probably half bloody pissed when I pushed like. But I was like, bro, don't let people's opinions and likes create a division or get yourself into an opinionated argument, you know? So that's what we sort of got to have to watch in life these days, is who gives a fuck about opinions and that?
Yeah, and we should be able to have our opinions without causing that division. Like we should, if we have different beliefs and different opinions, we should be able to sit down and have an honest conversation about it without it ending up in, you know, a fight or words that we don't want to say.
Yeah, because on social media, it'll get heated because you're on show.
Yeah.
But face to face, you'll just start laughing about it.
Yeah.
When you've got history, you just go, oh, fuck, bro, sorry. You know what I mean? You'll sort it out. But on the socials, so the socials to me is like the big division, is a big part is on social media. That's what's sort of causing the...
It is, and like, it's even gotten to a point for me where I've actually locked my social medias for most of the day because it's just so much, I wouldn't say toxic, but it's just a lot of information from both sides, and it's very hard to process it all, and it really does throw off your mindset if you get caught up scrolling and going through all these videos.
Oh, bro. Yeah, man, because it's funny how it affects your mind, because you've got all these important things in life. Like, you know, your health and family and all this sort of stuff, and you can get caught up on an opinion. And it burns that energy, and it's just silly energy. You need to put that energy into shit you got to do that matters in life. So, like, again, like, I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, because sometimes I get caught up in it, but I try to remind myself that doesn't matter. That's not an importance.
Exactly.
You know?
And, like, I was speaking to my mate the other day about it, and he goes, because he's off social media now.
Yeah.
He goes, most people shouldn't even worry about social media and politics like that until you have your own household in check.
Yep.
Because coming back to what I said before, if you don't have your household in check, if you don't have your own mental, physical, and spiritual health in check, none of that matters anyway. Because what can you do?
Bro, big time. You can go back and, then it can affect your relationship with your wife or your missus or at home, what I mean? Why? A big thing that I will say, like say when it comes to politics and stuff, obviously we've got the highest, one of the highest tax rates in the world and insurance policies and all that. We know that, but Australia's a great country, you know what I mean? Like I'm an immigrant, I came here in 97 and, it's definitely like I love being here and I appreciate and respect, that this country is an opportunity that it's given me and my kids, I've got an Australian wife and kids are Australians and, so I appreciate being in this country, But, like New Zealand's always home, with your Kiwi at heart, we're brought up with culture and that. So I'm really big on old school values because we are brought up that way, right? But so anyway, so coming back to I like to sort of my opinions are what I see through my own eyes. I mean, everyone's opinions are what they see through their own eyes, and everyone's different. All our lives, we're all different. But for me is so we're working in the construction industry. Like 5 years ago, I really noticed a difference. Like you'll see, to me, like immigration. I will talk about it. And to me, it is a bit of a problem. Not saying against any immigrants, because I'm an immigrant. But it was, so 5 years ago, and I work out Marsden Park and Box Hill and all that sort of stuff, you'll see the odd, Afghan crew and Indian crew and Chinese crew and all that. Now when I go out there, right, it's overtaking the construction industry. And that's fine. I know it's because I'm bricklaying. In the world of bricklaying, come to Australia, because you're a lower level, well, what do you call it, lower class if you're a bricklayer, right? Come to Australia, you become top tier, upper, get the top rates, become a superstar, come here, get the highest rates. And so a lot of immigrants in bricklaying from around the world come to Australia. And I've seen it, and the massive amount it's changed over the past 5 years. So obviously it affects me because it drops our rates and all that sort of stuff. And I've had maybe about 8, 9 Afghans work for me and stuff. And they're good, respectful, hard-working men, all right? Very religious, come to work, but they're from war-torn backgrounds, you know what I mean? So they definitely, money's a big thing. They don't have too much respect. They're very staunch on when it comes to money and stuff like that. And I know that I could never be their brother because we're different, all right? So I think, immigration, it needs to be a big thing because that's a division right there. Go home, work their asses off, invest, buy houses, live their family. And that's, they're the sort of people to mix in. You know what I mean? I'm just saying that just truthfully. Yeah. Again, I'm Māori. I'm an immigrant, but I'm saying that's what I see with my own eyes. I'm not saying that's a big problem, but that's a division because we're different. And I guess the world changes, and it is what it is. A lot of the stuff is out of our control, and we just got to go with the times. You know what I mean? But like those are things that I know, and and then we're paying a lot of tax and all that sort of stuff, and I've seen how a lot of taxes we're not getting paid from other, you know what I mean, sort of thing, and a lot of it gets set back to the countries to support families, and I can understand and doing what you got to do. And also too, a lot of our houses that we build, you meet the client and they can't speak English, so they're bringing the money in. Do you know what I mean? Building the house. So I get that helps, the economy and stuff like that. There could be other ways to help the economy, but that's the government doing, their ways of, of making money and getting voters. You could go on about this shit, but you know what I mean? I'm only new to it, so I've only started to learn about it. It's only because I'm talking about it. I would never talk about this. Not educated enough on it. And but I'm just telling you what I've seen through my own eyes. Not through videos or people telling me. I've seen all this through my own eyes. So, and Australians and everyone talks about this. And I said, well, I'm seeing it. And it affected my industry and stuff like that. But I'm just telling you what I've seen. My beliefs is what I see through my own eyes, Not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that is a thing that's happening, And
especially as a business owner, once you get into business, you realize how much we really get taxed.
Yeah,
bro. We get taxed on everything. Yeah,
and then you're talking about the divisions, and then us, and a lot of my Australian mates and all that, I kind of get together. Oh, fuck, because we're all real whingers, right? Yeah. The biggest whingers. But what else do you do? Well, fuck, I don't know. Oh, fuck, you can see this going on. We whinge, but that there's causing division. You know, immigrants coming over, doing their own thing, keep it to themselves, but that's going on. And we're all over here whinging about it and all that sort of stuff. And, you know.
Doesn't solve anything.
No. But I'm just saying it is a thing. And it's like how do you stop the division?
Let me ask you that. What's your thoughts on it? And how do you think we stop it?
Well, I reckon it's like this. It's like, say, if you got groups, you can have different sorts of groups, but the main group has got to be, you know, it's got to be on the conservative side to the country. So the main stronghold group, which is Australians and that, and then other smaller groups. If you pick the other groups up, numbers up where it becomes the same amount of people, then you've got a big division and you've got a big problem there. That's what I think a lot of people are worried about immigration and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's going to be big division. Division can be controlled if you've got one main group and smaller groups. But if you've got equal amount of groups of the population and they're all got different, very divided, and then you've got a big problem there. Do you know? That could never be sort of solved. I think is stop the division is obviously, you know, we think it's the government because the government's, you know. Well, I think this is what I think, right? Obviously, there's left wing, right wing.
Yep.
I'm only learning about it now, bro. But if you look up ChatGPT, what is left wing and right wing? That's what the government follows. It's their ideologies on how to control the country, on how to run the country. It is. I looked it up, and I looked at other stuff, and I think, fuck, that's what they're doing. And then you look at right wing, and you think, oh shit, it's kind of the opposite. Do you know? And maybe like a government change, I guess, can at least start. But then, you know, I don't know, man. You know, fuck.
It's at the end of the day, everyone should do their own research. And like for me, we can sit here and we can blame the government.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, like, it doesn't matter what government's in. There's going to be something that we like or dislike about it.
Yeah.
And if we can come back to, at the end of the day, we're humans. And what you said before around having respect, integrity, having a big heart. And yes, we're going to have different opinions and beliefs. And that's okay. But don't let that divide who we are as humans.
Yeah. Also, too, the point, say, like Australia Day, a couple of days it's gone. That's a big divided day.
Yep.
Hey, it's like, what do you think about Australia Day? I mean, you look on social media and people are burning the flag and it's all this different. And then this time out, there weren't many people celebrating it. And then it's just like, say, for instance, like we went out, right? You know, we got our kids, so we want to go and get something to eat. And we got some good mates down in like a big aloha. So they've got they got a Kiwi truck and a big aloha truck with the Hawaiian food and stuff. So they were sort of doing Australia Day, and I said to my missus, I'll do a post for them to say, because, you know, they've got mad food out. So we're out in St. Mary's and stuff, and she's done things for one of the posts, like on our BroFit page. And then like a couple of hours I looked back and it had the Australian flag flying, and I'm looking at it, I'm going, so I don't really know if we should be posting this, you know what I mean? Because it's going to go against a lot of like, you know, like a lot of other, you know, like people's principles and stuff. Obviously, you got the Aboriginals with the Invasion Day, and that date represents a lot of bad stuff in their past. So I can understand that. So I said to her, take that post down. We don't want the Australian flag. Do you know what I mean? Because how it sort of represents everything, you know? It represents like these days you look at it like, oh, you're a racist or you're on the right side or, you know what I mean? You know, that's how I feel as though it kind of represents.
But do you also think it's sad that we have got to the point where we can't put a video up that has the Australian flag in it?
Yep. I reckon, about 100%, I reckon we either change the date, because of my cultural background, I don't know too much about on that side of the culture about the history and that. I don't know too much, so I can't speak on it. I said, but if there's a problem with that date that disrespects a culture, change it. And they say, why can't change? The government changes fucking, you know, policies and bloody every legislation is like they change their bloody undies. So why can't they just change that date? And if it doesn't work, let's do an immigration day. We're not doing immigration day. So we all celebrate, all the immigrants celebrate about how we appreciate and are grateful to the Australian people. And we go out and celebrate that. And then that can show their, you know what I mean? That way it's positivity coming to it.
Yeah.
Because no one can go against that. Let's have immigration day and we celebrate it and pay, you know, show respect and be grateful to, you know, the Australian people and like the country we live in. Just an idea. I don't know, you know.
I seen a video actually yesterday around, okay, what if we made Australia Day, we changed it to Invasion Day, where it was about the mourning of what happened to the Indigenous people.
Yep.
And then the following day, we made that Australia Day, where we celebrate Australia and the country that we live in.
Yeah, for sure.
So then
Yep.
we're celebrating,
Yep.
well, not celebrating, but we're respecting what happened in the past, but then we're celebrating what Australia is now.
Yep, that could be done because Australia Day is like on a Monday, so we've got the 2 days. How are we going to do it, like on a Saturday, Sunday, or, you know, Sunday, Monday? It's an idea. And it's about when there's problems and issues, talking about it and taking action.
Yeah,
Doing something about it. Because everyone's been talking about the date for years,
exactly.
you know, but
We
anyway, we can do our best, but these are just my thoughts. You
Yeah.
know, I don't know. I'm not an expert. I don't know too much about the Australian history and stuff like that. I'm just going what I think.
We're going to get criticised either way.
Yeah,
but
at the end of the day, I'm respectful to all, and you know, and remember again, it's all about how you treat people, respect and integrity, and what's in the heart before anything.
And speaking of that, you are a massive resemblance of respect, integrity, and a man of big heart. I'm curious, where did that come from?
Oh man, like I don't want to blow wind up my ass, I say, but hey, I'm not perfect though. There's a lot of things I've done in my past that I freaking regret, you know, especially when I was a young fella. A lot of things I regret. You know, but when you get older, you try and uphold those values. You do your best, you know, and it's good, like having, like when you're running a gym and stuff, and you're upholding values to the gym. We're not just running a gym for fitness, you know. When we're carrying the word mental health and stuff like that, you know, you gotta hold integrity to what that word means. But I think it comes from, oh man, and a lot of Polynesians will agree with me. It comes from hardship of a hard upbringing, you know. A lot of us say we had a hard upbringing because that's just the way it was, you know, being brought up in the 70s and the 80s and stuff, especially in New Zealand and Australia. In a lot of countries, you know, we were brought up the same, we were brought up the same in those eras, you know. You're brought up with, you know, obviously not having much money, and you know, all our, you know, parents have got mental health issues, and we all get good hidings and stuff like that, and you learn to sort of, you learn what respect means, you know, you learn how to, you know, you learn how to look after people and look after your own, and you know, and make do with what you got and appreciate the things you get. And I think it comes from those being brought up that way, you know, like I believe, you know, and you hold on to those values. You know, you hold on to those values. You don't lose it. You know, you can be suddenly, a lot of people suddenly become this, and they can come into a lot of money, and they can come into like a status, and then it changes them, you know. But when you're from the old school values, you always keep the way you are no matter what, you know.
Do you think it also comes from that period of your life that you've mentioned to me around like bullying, where you were bullied as a kid and now you want to give back to others? Not really. Okay.
Not really, to be honest. That was, like I'll speak on that. That was a time in my life. It's a funny time when I look back on it. It was such a good thing, but there was a good value there. It was a good value learned. So like it was a time in my life when I was going into the college, and I had 4 good friends, you know, and I worshipped these guys, you know. We had a big fallout in school, you know, big friendship breakup. Anyway, and I started hanging out with other people. Anyway, so the usual thing, you know, you start picking on each other and all that. So these guys were hard asses. They were the cool kids of the school and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, and I started hanging out with other people, and then I started trying to fight back at them and stuff like that. And then it was just turned out ugly, you know. And these guys, you know, I wasn't innocent, you know. Tried to fight back, sook, you know, used to tear up very easy under pressure and stuff like that, and it was embarrassing, you know. But fuck, these guys hammered me. Right? It came to the point where I'd sit inside, hang out with other people, and during school lunches, you know, they'll be out, we'll be playing ball rush and all that, you know. And I was a fighter. I was always in scraps. I was a goer, not staunch, not the best. But I was always, you know, in scraps and all that sort of stuff. And I remember, you know, having a scrap with someone else, and then one of these guys running up behind me. And back then, WWF was really big with the wrestling. And he's throwing a clothesline on the back of my neck and knocked me unconscious. You know, I was out for like a solid minute. You know, and that was just one thing. I didn't know didn't know anything about it. You know, nothing happened over it. And another time I'd be out playing ball rush, and the next minute, you know, bang from the side of the head, and, you know, rocked and, you know, dropped to the ground, and just everyone laughing at me. And our school was a feeder for another school, so you'll get a lot of guys that get expelled, right? You know, because a big population was like Māoris in the North Island, so it was rough. It was rough. And a lot of rough schools, when they got expelled, our school was the feeder where they'll take these kids in. And a big part of the initiation was, hey, you know, they want to join the cool kids, and these are staunch Māoris, like junior gangsters. Do you know what I mean? And I'm, you know, 15 playing tennis, trying to keep away from these boys, and next one I have the big staunch Māori fellow who's got bloody tattoos and, you know, half a beard and all that sort of stuff, you know, pushing me, going, hey, you wanna fucking scrap? And I'd be like, shitting myself, going, well, what? So part of initiation, join our group, go down, punch that guy in the head. You know, so it was stuff like that, and it was ugly, parent-teacher meetings, and it got to the point too, I remember one time I was really pushed, you know, and I'd stolen some stuff from the neighbours, and so I was in trouble. I was taking petrol to school because we we're going to build these engines and build these, you know, these motors and all that sort of stuff, and we we're going to build these racecrafts and all that, and I stole some stuff. And I took petrol to school, so the teachers rang my dad, come in, your son's bringing petrol to school, come and have a look to see what's going on. So they come to school and realised what I've been doing. And then I knew I was in trouble. And then I was like, okay, well, I'll wait for you when you get home. So I'm like, fuck, you know. And back then, you know, at that age, you know, a lot of people can relate to this. So hiding was like, you know, your dad not the best in mental health, and he's a big, you know, 110, 20 kilo Maori guy. You know, from a bad past and all that sort of stuff. Hiding, or when you get in trouble, is like a friggin' a novel. You know, there's an introduction, there's fucking chapters to it, and there's an ending. You know what I mean? That's what it was like. Anyway, so I was pushed. So I'm getting picked on by these guys. I didn't want to go to school, and I was going to get trouble from my dad. So we had a tree hut in the back of our, so I lived out in orchards and stuff like that. But like back in New Zealand, I was like, I think it's 14, my son's age.
Yeah.
And so I got up in the tree, and I was feeling sorry for myself, and I tied a rope, and I tied a noose, tied it to the tree, and I sat up, put it around my neck, and I thought about jumping. I thought about like committing suicide, right? Like seriously, I was in that position. I put myself in that position. But I'd never have the balls to do it. I was just feeling sorry for myself. So the reason why I speak about it is I put myself in that position, 100%, there's no one around. I was up in a tree. All I had to do was jump, but I never had the balls to do it. I was just doing it, upset, hated life. This was maybe an out, but I was just doing it to feel sorry for myself. But I never would do it. But the thing is I put myself in that position. Now, let's just say I, had a few drinks before I climbed up in the tree. Had 6, because I could always get alcohol at that age and stuff like that. Like, let's just say I had, and taken something I shouldn't have. Let's just say I was in that position and I got up in that. Maybe I would have been brave enough to jump out of that tree and been another statistic, you know what I mean? In suicide and stuff like that. But, yeah. So anyway, yeah, then that was a story, and that was part of, you know what I mean, scared of my dad and being fucking bullied by these guys, you know what I mean? They smashed me. But one thing I will say, and anyway, what turned out good when I was 15, I was turning 16, I was going through the stage, and I fucking hate it. But it made me be good at school. I was real educated. I was in an accelerated maths class because I was just into schoolwork, you know what I mean? Because I wasn't about playing rugby and hanging out with the boys and all that because of these dudes. So I was reasonably smart at school at that era. You know, I'd done my school certificate and got 3 subjects back then, and I was aiming to go into the army. Anyway, an opportunity came for us to move down to the South Island because my auntie was working down there and could get my dad some work. And my dad and my auntie are very close. And Dad goes to move down to the South Island to Central Otago, a place called Alexandra. And I was like, fuck yeah, let's move. Yeah, man, I'd love that. So we packed up and moved. And then we moved down to the South Island, moved down to a place called Alexandra, and there was probably like 5 Maoris in the whole school. Maoris and Islanders are Polynesians. And they were all my age. And when I moved down there, straight away was into the clique with them. So my life just changed, straight away into a cool dude. Loving life, hanging out, doing it right with the girls, playing rugby, doing art because I was a bit of a drawer, like an artist and all that, and my life was fucking awesome. Got into the smoking weed at a young age, at school and playing good rugby, but just loving life, man. Loved it. Such a great time. And then when I was 19, I moved over to Australia. But one thing I will say is that I always had it in me. I always had it in me because it was a bad time in my life. I was fucked. 2-3 years of getting bullied. It's a horrible thing, man. And this bullying, we all get bullied. Everyone can say, I got bullied, whatever. But this was on another level because it was between 3 dudes and went over 2 years. Parent-teacher meetings and me being up in a tree means it's another level, right? It depends how you define bullying, but that was next level bullying, right? I don't want to say bullying, but they just fucking hammered me. I hate saying bullying because it sounds like a weak word, but yeah, they just hammered me, right? And I wasn't innocent. It was a fucking sook and all that sort of stuff. And I deserve some of it, but not to that extent. But I said to myself, I'm going to go away, I'm going to become a good fighter, and I'm going to come back years later and I'm going to smash them all. That was in my head. But I always had it. I said, I'll face up to them. And I had it, right? And I'll keep carrying on the story. So I was always going to go back. So, was always into fighting. So came over here and all that sort of stuff and worked the doors and became a fighter. Then I kickboxing and I got some opportunities who believed in me and thought, yeah, man, I'm going to be this big fighter. I'm going to fight in K1. Had a few fights, started knocking guys out and bang, fucking got hiding. When I got the reality check, ooh, there's always someone that can, someone around the corner that can beat the shit out of you. So I had about 30 fights and all that sort of stuff and then the gym stuff and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, so I always had it in me. This has always been, I've always, if I say I'm going to promise myself, and that was to myself, I promised myself. So anyway, as a 34-year-old, after fights and running gyms and doing shows, I had an opportunity to go back to New Zealand to take a fighter. So the guy was having his retire fight, right? Like big time fighter, awesome dude. Hey, Tom, bro, you got a guy that's, can match with me? No one too strong, but he's got to hold his own. It's my last fight. I've got injuries and all that sort of stuff. I just need to get it out of the last one back, last show. I just need to just get this last one done. You know what I mean? So I had the perfect guy. So I thought, but his show was a day after my show. So I had an event at the Penrith Cell. So I thought, fuck, I can't do that, bro. I said, I was fighting. I was doing an exhibition. So I'd stopped fighting, got out of shape, didn't trained up for an exhibition against a good, like a good mate of mine, Glenn Barragry, who's helped me all the years and is a well-respected man in the area. And he goes, hey, we'll do an exhibition and we'll raise money for charity and all that sort of stuff. And I thought, fuck, I need to get it back in shape. I said, but I've got to get in shape against this guy because he's staunch, he's a flog the shit out of me. And I thought, if he puts it on me, I've got to be able to hold my own. So it made me get back into shape again and all that sort of stuff. So I thought about it. I said, you know what? I'm going to do an exhibition against my mate. We're going to raise funds for charity. I said, I'm going to get back into shape. I'm not going to get on the piss that night because I'm into these after parties. Next, I'm going to get up. I'm going to catch an airplane. I'm going to take my fighter back to New Zealand. We're going to fight because it's a free trip because they pay for everything. In the morning, I'm going to get a hire car. I'm going to drive back down to my hometown and I'm going to face up to these bullies that are 34-year-old. I was 14. Now I'm 34. Not that it ever happened, but I just had to get that. Not that it ever happened. I'm fucking 34 years old. Not that it ever happened, but I thought I had to get that. I had to do that. Like I had to just get that. Because I said I would always face up. And I thought, if I don't go back now, I'll never go back. And I'm in half decent shape. So anyway, I did that. I had a good exhibition, got in reasonable shape, went to the after party, went done a after party, so I did well. Because if I had gone out on it, it would be hard to get a flight and go back, you know what I mean? On one of these benders that I used to do for years. Got home early, got up, okay, catch a flight, yep, go to New Zealand, take the fighter to the fights, yep, awesome. He fought really well, lost the fight, and but fought really well, everything went awesome. You know, he wasn't injured and all that sort of stuff. And I thought, okay, sweet. And then we go to the after party that night, and I'm in New Zealand, and I got opportunities. You know, like, as in, you know, everyone's going back to after party, and then I got to see some old friends there and all that sort of stuff, just go catch up. And I thought, fuck. So I put all my gear up, my going out gear, and I got on the bed, and I thought, if I fucking go out I'm not going to do this thing tomorrow. I'm not going to get a hire car, drive down south to Tekofara and go back to see my hometown. And maybe I can see one of these, I wanted to catch up, but not that I'm going to see these dudes. I don't even know if they're there. But I just wanted to I wanted to go to my hometown and face where we used to live and face the school, and I had to get that done. So I was on my bed with my shoes on and all that sort of stuff, thinking, fuck, am I going to go out? Next minute, boom, I wake up and it's the morning. I fell asleep. I was like, fuck yeah, because I was fresh. I didn't have any drinks that night. Sweet. So I had a shower, got a hire car, boom, drive down south. Cruising around, and you know what I mean, like reminiscing on all that where we used to live, and we used to catch eels out of a water race, and I went back to the tree, looked up at the tree. We used to have a tree house there. Looked up at the tree. That was a memory that I brought back. Yep. I think fucking nearly jumped out of that fucker. You know what I mean? Went back to the water race. We used to throw eels out of there and, get eeling. And then went down to the dairy, to the local, shops, and nothing changed. And then I went down to the college and went around to school and all that. So it was good to get that out of my system. And anyway, so I went down and I'm parking up downtown. I had something to eat. And I see these young Maori kids walk past. I said, hey, do you guys know a guy called such and such? He was the main guy. And he go, yeah, bro, he lives in that house right there. And I was like, oh, yeah. You know what I mean? I was like, fuck, my heart started racing and all that sort of stuff. And I was like, oh, yeah, cool, and all that sort of stuff. And I was like, not that I'm going to do anything. And oh, yeah. So I was fucking driving around and drive back and forth and looking in. Next minute, I see this big, short, stocky Maori fella walk out of the house. And I look and I thought, it's fucking him. And I was going up and down. I'm going, fuck it. So I pulled over, jumped out, and then went, knocked on the door, and then knocked on the door, and I think his wife, and then I said, oh, such and such here, and I went, he goes, yeah, he's come to the door, and he's like, so I sent him, face to face. So I was nervous as hell, you know what I mean? I started stuttering a bit, because after all these years, and I had that tunnel vision, like when everything's blurry, and I'm looking at that guy's face. And they're going, hey, bro. And he goes, hey, brother, how's it going? Like, as if we were mates. And that was good because we just spoke. You know what I mean? What had he been up to? And he'd been following us. You know what I mean? Because he sort of found my page and stuff. And we sort of following, I think we'd be following each other. I can't remember. But it'd be, hey, man, your fucking brother's going good and all that sort of stuff. So we just chatted like for 5 to 10 minutes and as my mates. You know what I mean? And for a split second, I thought about doing something because I said to myself I would, but I was older. I had nothing to prove. Kids everywhere. You know what I mean? And then I just said to him, I said, bro, you know why I'm here, eh? You know why I'm here, eh, bro? And I said, and he goes, fuck, I know, bro. He goes, fuck, I'm sorry, bro. He goes, I'm fucking sorry, man. And he goes, bro, and I said, I had to face up to you. I said, I nearly jumped out of a tree because of you guys. I said, fuck, man, I went through it. That was a bad stage in my life, and it was fucked. I said, I wasn't innocent. I deserved some of it. I said, but you fucking hammered me, bro. And he goes, I'm sorry, man. And I goes, I'm fucking sorry. And I said, yep. And he goes, so you want to go up to the pub for a couple of beers? I said, no, all good, bro. I just had to face up to you. That's all. I just wanted to face up to you. So I said, that's it, bro. Put my hand out, shook his hand, and left. So when I left in the car, I had a little bit of a tear to myself, thinking, fuck, after all these years, I said, it was good to go back confident. And, you know what I mean? I was in shape. If he wanted to go, I was ready, you know what I mean? Because I was always scared of this guy. I worshipped this guy. And then, but it was good to face my fears, you know what I mean? To face up to this dude after all those years at the 34-year-old. Do you know what I mean? So that was my story about bullying, bro. And a couple other ones we've caught up online and, you know what I mean? Like, hey, bro. And he goes, hey, you found me, we go back and forth and, we just talk about families and stuff. And, it's been good. Like, I speak to these guys online now and again. That's why it's good. So whenever you got issues, it's always good to, you got to have that forgiveness. You got to face up to it, but forgiveness is obviously a big thing, you know what I mean? Because when you hold on to shit, if you don't forgive, you hold on to it forever. And then I don't even think about these guys anymore. And that was the worst possible, the best possible outcome it could ever be for myself, what I did. You know what I mean? I could have jumped out of a tree. Something bad could have happened. But I faced these guys, made me sort of become, I guess, I was always into sort of fighting. I was never staunch, But I like fighting. It was cool. It was good to come back after all these years and the timing of it. You know, it was perfect. So that's my story about bullying. And yeah.
Bro, I never knew that you were going to jump out of a tree at 14. That's crazy.
Yeah, same age as my son. Fuck. But as I said, I never had the balls to do it. And I was just feeling sorry for myself. But, you know, I did put myself in that position.
And it's crazy because unfortunately in society, there's men out there that get caught up in their emotions and they'll do something like that. And they'll follow through with it and become a statistic.
Yeah. Well, there's guys out there just can't handle a bit of pressure in life these days. And, you know, pressures of, you know, the family and stuff. You know what I mean? And they're actually doing it, you know. Like these guys got the balls enough to just to take their life. And the big thing these days is, you know, back then there was a lot of guys that took their lives. They had some sort of, you know, I mean, they had a mental illness, you know, you had PTSD or, you know, stuff going on. You know what I mean? Like, you know, mental issues and stuff. But a common thing these days of men is taking their lives is, just struggling with pressure. Obviously, a lot more pressures there are these days. With, you know, supporting families and stuff. A big thing that I've learned about a lot that's been happening is it's relationships and women holding kids against men, and that's enough to make men go off the edge. You know?
It is. It definitely is.
Yeah, as long as you're aware about it, aware about what's going on and stuff like that, and you know, it's good having groups like, you know, like BroFit around, I guess, and yourself talking about this sort of stuff, because there are a lot of things. Back then, there wasn't too many things about it because you didn't really talk about it. It's just like, oh yeah, you know, harden up or stuff we all go through. You didn't really talk about it because that's why it's good speaking about it now. You know, and there are a lot of groups out there that sort of like support groups, and you know, at the end of the day, we try to empower people, you know, but if someone wants to take their life, you know, they're going to do it. You know, it's good to be there for them at their darkest hour. Obviously, it's timing, and you know, it's good having awareness so you can sense when someone's not good, because you can help take someone out of that darkest hour. Because, you know, when someone hits rock bottom, a lot of people don't know what to do. But, so someone's, you know, sick of life. It's just, you know, it's a matter of time, eh? You know, you can only help someone so much. You can empower them, but they're going to, you know, if they're sick of life, you know, you can either empower them till they feel better, you know, but yeah, it's a hard thing, and it's sad.
It is, because it's reality. But as you said, it's you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink. Mm-hmm. There's only so much that we can do.
Yeah, and another thing I will say, this happened recently. So I had a bloke. So, you know, like, say when it comes to the gym and stuff, you know, we'll put everything online about, hey, we do this training, we do boxing, we train our young guys for competition, we do circuit training, look at what we got. You know, I do whatever I can to try and get members, because that's how you do on socials, you know. But when it comes to mental health stuff, we sort of keep it off socials, you know. That's how we like to keep our integrity to helping, you know. But we do a lot. When we carry the name, a lot of guys do reach out. I've had a lot of guys reach out to me that I've sort of, you know what I mean, like, hey man, you know what I mean, how you going, all that sort of stuff. And quite a few over we've been open for nearly 2.5 years. And one recent story that I will talk about is I had a bloke reach out to me probably about 8 months ago, and he's done a bit of work. He's a bricklayer, and he's done a bit of work for me and stuff like that. But I didn't know him well, and he's reached out and he goes, "Oh, hey bro, like I'm struggling, you know what I mean? Like doing this and doing that." And so what I do, because I'm not a counsellor and that, and sometimes I can speak and sometimes I can't. I'm like, oh fuck, you know what I'm gonna say. You know, so, but what works is, oh hey bro, come down. I'll meet you down the gym, and I'll show you around what we do. So I do that, you know, instead of, you know, come, hey man, you know, you feeling all right, or, you know, offer some, you know, the resources that we got and advices and all that. Okay, hey bro, I'll try and like talk him into coming down and train. Had this guy coming in, I was like, hey man, this is what we do, and hey, how you been, and you know, and this is the classes we do, and this is what we're doing, and he's been talking about some struggles and stuff, and so I said, hey bro, so I give him a key tag, and I go, hey bro, you can come in the gym, you know, whenever you want, get yourself up to scratch, outside hours if you want, before, you know, get yourself fitter, then you can jump in our classes and stuff, so, you know, just showing him the love, that's all, just showing him the love, and give him some work and stuff like that, so, you know, it's helping him through, then he got through a bad stage, and then I went, you know, help with whatever I could, you know. A couple of things was like, fuck, you know. A couple of went through a couple of rock bottoms. And then I started sort of speaking to his mum online. And then he was reached, you know, I was saying he was getting, you know, he had a problem with alcohol and relationship and all that sort of stuff. And he was getting rehab and all that. And rehab worked really well for him. And then it was good because then I learned this is what worked for me. And then I had some other guys that wanted to help with rehab. So I reached out to him, hey, bro, I've got some other guys that need, you know, detox and rehab. What do you recommend? How much did it cost? And, you know, so he gave me all the details and names and, you know, recommendations and that. So I could help other people through him. So I just passed on details. So that was good for that. And that's how it kind of works, you know. I seen him again, bro, probably like probably 3 months ago. Up at the gym up here at any time. He see me and just looked clean in the face. You can tell he'd been off the grog. And just looked happy and healthy. And he goes, hey, man. I said, how you going? He goes, fuck, bro, I'm going to come down to the gym. I'm fit up in training. I said, I feel awesome. I said, good on you, bro. Fuck, I said, you look good. Fuck, good on you, man. Like, good on. He's like, yeah, bro, fucking awesome. And then, you know, sent me a message. Hey, man, fuck it, that was good catching up with you, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'll come down to the gym. Give me another couple of weeks. I'll come down to train. I said, awesome. Bro, a month later, his mum I had a missed call to his mum. And I seen it that early. And I thought, fuck, you know, it's probably gone off the rails again. So I rang her up, you know, a few hours later that morning after the gym, whatever I had going. And then I said, you know, how's it going? So he goes, not good. You know, such and such took his life last night. And I was like, fuck. It's like, fuck. You know what I mean? I thought, far out. And I didn't know what to say to him. I said, I mean, just talk to the guy, you know? I said, man, sorry, like, anything I can do or whatever. And she rang me up that morning. So it made me feel special enough to be a person in the life and what we were doing. Because she rang me up that morning, you know. So I'm talking to her for a bit, and I'm like, okay, well, just let me know of the funeral. And I'm so sorry. So I didn't know her, you know, but I know her through just, you know, talking to her on the socials and stuff. And I was like, fuck. So, you know what I mean? He got back on. Apparently, he got back on the drink for a week, and that was enough to topple. I think. Do know he was trying to get back with his missus that he had left behind. I think she's a 5-year-old daughter, you know, left behind her. That was his angel and his everything. So a week back on the drink, and he did that, took his lone life, and he left behind a girl, 5-year-old girl. So, you know, obviously, you know, that's going to be with that girl for the rest of her life and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, so I went to the funeral, didn't know anyone. And so I just stood back and just watched and just paid my respects and stuff. And it's a different funeral when it's a suicide, you know. It's just different, bro. The look on everyone's faces, it's different. It's different, you know. And at the end, I wanted to pay respects to, you know, I seen his mum there. She had a lot of family around her. And she sort of like glanced at me, and I wanted to come up to her, just give her a hug and that. And I had people around her, so I just kind of acknowledged that. I wanted to see that I was there. And then just so I left, you know. I dressed up for it, and just so I left. Done a couple of posts on about, hey, man, you know. And I messaged her later. I said, you know, I wanted to come up and give you a hug, but I didn't. She goes, yeah, I said, you should have. And I said, no, you know, you had people around you. But the reason being, I kind of felt, you know, I didn't know him well, and I didn't know her, but I felt as though I was going to tear up if I had hugged her. So that's why I didn't, because I didn't want to tear up, you know, but that's why I didn't hug her. But she had family and that around. But I was just there to pay my respects. And yeah, so that was just one. There's many other things that happen that I keep to myself. You know what I mean? You just do what you got to do. But that's just a story that happened recently, like in this gym. Do you know what I mean? And
I want to ask you, because you're dealing with this on a day-to-day basis and having these conversations with a lot of these men. How do you keep your own mental health in check? Because it would take a toll on you hearing all these stories and experiencing them for yourself. How do you keep your own health in check?
Oh, bro, it's good being accountable to the gym. 100%. This helps me. It's good being accountable to the gym. And just, bro, straight out having good people around. It's like when we have guest speakers here, I'm getting counsel. I listen. It's not just for everyone else, it's for me too. And that you feed off that strength. 100%. It all helps. Having good men that are aware of it all. They say, you get yourself in a good tribe, but it's 100% true. Whenever we've got something going on in this gym, we've got so many good blokes that help. If we've got an event going on, or we need sponsorship, or we need raise money, we've got so many good guys in here go, hey bro, sweet, bang. When we're in trouble, no one's perfect. We can, you can be up on a high horse and all of a sudden you're rock bottom. When we're in help, when we need helping and help, we've got people coming and help us. It's good being, in this gym and being accountable to this, what we represent and to these values, and having good men around you. Because it does, when you've got good men around you, life's a lot easier, bro, for a lot of reasons. Whether it's money, whether you're in trouble, whether you need advices, whether you've got stuff going on with your family. Because life will throw curveballs at you all the time. No one's perfect, do you know? And it's good having a good group of men around that's always here to help. Do you know? Like I always help a lot of people what I can. I help a lot of people, but also a lot of people have helped me. I've got so many people that help me consistently, and I've done fuck all for them back. But I help everyone else, and they help me. So it's like one big cycle. So it is a big part. You can't do life by yourself, bro. You've always got to have good people around you. Sometimes, you can have stressful people around you. You can be in a toxic relationship or in a toxic environment, but, and sometimes it's hard to sort of get out of those environments. But, like, I'm lucky. I know I'm blessed and I'm grateful that I'm in a good environment. I've got a great relationship with my wife, and my kids are happy and healthy, and I've got a good group of men around me. So I'm lucky and I'm blessed. I'm lucky. I'm lucky. So I'm grateful.
And you help a lot of people, man. You helped myself, and for a lot of people that don't know this, it's funny how it all came about. Like, I split with my ex, and then like a week later, you messaged me saying, "Hey, bro, do you want to have a fight?" And in my head, like I've never been a fighter. I've always been a lover, but in my head, I'm like, I'm just going to take this opportunity. And honestly, that was one of the biggest things that helped me get through that period of my life. That training camp, those one-on-one sessions with yourself, and the conversations that we had. Like, I don't think you understand how much of an impact that you have had on my life, and the impact that you have on many other people's lives as well. And like, honestly, I really appreciate and I'm grateful for everything that you did for me. And that fight was one of the best things that I did, and it's built so much confidence within myself, and that's why I came back for another one, and there might be more down the track.
Yeah. Like you know what? Like, to be honest, when I offered you that fight and stuff, I'll be honest, you're a content creator, right?
Yeah.
And being a business person, it's a smart to get content creators to fight on events and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I was just being honest.
Yeah.
I said, but I follow you. Do you know what I mean? And I follow a lot of things you say in that. And then I relate to guys like you know what I mean? With the content you put across, with your stories, with your quotes. I sit there, watching. I thought, you know what I mean? Like, I follow you. And so, there's a few times I've been in a shit mood and you've put me in a good mood. And you've given me good ideas and given me the ideas that I bring to this gym. So I follow and I respect what you do as well. Do you know? But when I say, hey man, you want to come and fight, And you're like, yeah, sweet. And I said, come on, do this and do that. So it was good having you here. And, you're an athlete, you're a strong guy. So, we worked well. And, but also when I asked you, I said, what have you been up to and all that sort of stuff? And you go, fuck, I just split up my missus. I was like, you see me? I went, fucking hell, bro. Because we were like, I don't know, 2-3 weeks deep into it, and you were just coming doing your thing. And I was like, fuck, good on you, bro. Never picked it. I never picked it because that's a big thing when you're going through a breakup. Yeah. I never picked it, and you were coming in and training. And then I said, fuck, good on you, bro. I said, this is going to be good for you, but good on you. For doing that. Yeah. The strength in you, bro, because going through a breakup, doing this shit and getting, I've seen you get some hidings and getting pumped and, You know, a couple of times was from my son. But hey, you know, he's experienced, you know. I remember he said, fuck, your son's giving me a hiding.
He's 14 and like he rocked me. A bit embarrassing, but hey, it is what it is.
I said, don't worry, he's had a few fights and stuff. But good on you, man, for having the strength. But stuff like those challenges are what you need in life. And a lot of people can easily fall down, go the other path, drinking, being negative. You know what I mean? Sitting with yourself, doing nothing. Exercise in this type of environment, especially if you've got a fight and you're matched and you've got a challenge, because you know, you're all excited about it. I need this, but then 4 or 5 weeks later, that excitement leaves you. And you're like, oh, maybe I don't want to do this no more. But when you're fucking matched up on a poster and you're like, shit, I have to do this now, right? You know, but, you know, it's good for you because it can take your mind off and it helps with your emotions and obviously everything else, you know.
Yeah, it was the biggest thing that kept me sane. And it gave me something to look forward to and a challenge, as you said. And the biggest thing I've learned recently and through that whole period, as men, the biggest way we process emotions is through exercise, is through movement. Like we can't just sit there and think and process things. We have to actually move the body. And that's why I love coming to the gym and training, because it's a really healthy outlet for me to process my emotions and express my emotions in a healthy manner, instead of sitting there and trying to do it myself or going to alcohol or drugs or whatever the case is, and what many other men do. This is a healthy outlet for a lot of men to be able to do that. And I'm grateful that I was provided the opportunity from yourself to be able to do that, because as I said, it helped me so much through that period. And it's really helped me in becoming the man that I am today. And every man should hop in the ring and at least have one fight. And you said that to me.
Bro, 100%, bro. You've really just got to experience it, because it's a scary, daunting thing. You know, I can sit there and say, yeah, I've had experience in fighting and, we need to do this. But if I was to do it again now, bro, I'll be shitting myself because of the pressure, you know. And just, but it's good to put you in those sorts of environments, because we all need it. You know, we talk, you know, they say men's got to be resilient and, you know, got to be strong and all that fuck. You know, half of like when the biggest battle was trying to get through sparring and get to the weigh-in. That's half the battle there. And then on the day you fight, you know, it's the fucking last thing you want to do, right? When, you know, if you got an event like Panthers and got the big lights and all your friends and family are coming, you know, it's going to be packed, and you got some dude in front of you that's trained to, you know what I mean? It's going to try and take your head off, and you're like, fuck, am I going to be able to perform it? It's a scary, daunting thing, but good on to anyone that gets in there and does this. You know, again, it takes balls, takes courage, and it takes commitment, because, you know, copping a hiding and, you know, inspiring and getting injured and getting sick with the flu and, you know, all these sorts of things, and trying to regulate your emotions is a big thing these days, you know. And
bro, I remember that first fight, walking out, I actually cried. I was actually that scared that I cried. And I haven't admitted that to many people, but it was such a scary experience for myself, because as I said, I'm a lover, not a fighter. But then the adrenaline kicks in and everything like that. And I won that fight. And I'm reflecting. I'm like, wow, so much confidence came from that. Just by stepping in the ring, putting yourself out of your comfort zone, that challenge, and it builds so much resilience as well. And then the second time around, I actually enjoyed it a lot more. I didn't cry that time. I enjoyed it. I embraced it. And then I got my second fight, my second win. And the more you do things, the more you expose yourself to different situations, the more comfortable you get, the more confidence you get, the more resilience you build. And that's why I love boxing. I love combat sports. I love putting yourself out of your comfort zone, because that is how you grow as a man. And it's so important that we do these things, whether it's boxing, whatever it is. You expose yourself to situations that are going to force yourself to grow out of your comfort zone and to grow into a better version of yourself, mentally, physically, and spiritually.
Yep.
So important.
Bro, that's why I really rate boxing, amateur boxing, competitive boxing for teenagers right now in this day and age. You know, like I was originally from a kickboxing background, and then we transitioned to MMA, you know, obviously my brother had been in the UFC and stuff like this, and then now we're really into boxing. Now, you know, we transitioned into boxing, and boxing is more of for teenagers, you know. Obviously you got UFC, there's a lot more, you know, to it, and boxing, wrestling, all sort of stuff, and it's more of a dominant sport compared with the other sports. But boxing for teenagers, is, I think, hands down, one of the best sports, competitive environment that you can do as a father for your teenage son. A lot of, as parents these days, we're about, oh, you know, what do you want to do? And all that sort of stuff. I'm always like, fuck, make them. Make them do it. Do you know what I mean? Oh, yeah, I brought him to boxing, doesn't really like it. Too bad. You know, make him do it. Half the time, my boy, I've got an 8-year-old, you've got to tell him to stop training. And I've got another one, you've got to force him to training. Do you know what I mean? But what it's done for him, like he's for my son, I've seen it all years, because I've owned 4 or 5 gyms before, and I've been around kids, training them all my life, you know, or 20 years solid, and seen, you know, the changes it's made for them. But for a teenage, you know, when you're boxing, competitive, you're learning about nutrition. You're learning about discipline and eating food, because you got to make a weight. You're learning about these things. How many kids have got discipline eating food at 14? You got learning about keeping your weight, not eating today, jumping in the sauna, going for a run because you got bloody 2 kilos to lose. You're learning about this stuff, and you have to do it because you got to fight. Do you know? And competitive boxing, you're going to a gym with kids you don't know. They're going to try and punch you in the head. That's what you got to deal with. And when it comes to anxiety and all these things, which is a big problem in life, you learn to deal with these things. And I've seen my son deal with. He's a very sensitive kid. Very sensitive kid. And a kid that could get bullied, like me, you know, because you could say something to him and he takes everything to heart. And we all got our own, you know, we all got our different personalities, and we all, you know, all our kids are different, you know, everyone's different, you know. And with boxing, with what I've seen him do, as opposed to playing football, what I've seen to change my son's life, and he's still sensitive. He's got a kind heart. Very sensitive, you know. He can get a bit of anxiety, which is a common thing for teenagers these days. But because he's had 8 fights now, and he's learned a lot. He can deal with pressure. He can do a lot than what I could do at his age. But he's learned that through experience. He's learned that going through gyms. He's learned, because I've pushed him going to gyms. I've pushed him into sparring. I've pushed him going interstate to competing. And now he's going out, walking out himself with other trainers. I'm not there no more. He's learned to deal with those emotions. He's able to regulate those emotions at a young age, at 14. I love it now because he's a big, strong kid who has these sensitivity. He's very sensitive, and, you know, a bit of anxiety problems there. And, you know, common thing these days, again, I keep saying it, but he's tough. You know, he's got a confidence. You know, and that's what boxing's brought to him. You know, and I love it that he's got this kind, soft side, but he's got another side. If he wants to, he can put it on. Yeah. If I say fucking harden up, bro, as I say it to him all the time, he will, because he knows how to. If he's got an issue somewhere at school, whatever, I say, well, fuck, you know what to do, bro. I say it to him all the time. I say, at least he knows what, if he wants to, it's there. He's not like that, but it's there. Because I say that is a big thing these days, you know. If you can train for war, it can bring you peace. I say train to be a tough cunt, because it brings you peace, and it helps you negotiate peace later on in life. No one's going to mess with you. No one picks on them at school. Owning the gym, they breed fighters and all that sort of stuff, and half the guys here used to compete. And he competes himself. He doesn't have trouble at school. Like, kids respect him. Do you know? So that's what boxing's brought to him.
Yeah, he has a loving heart, but he'll knock you out if he needs to.
Bro, there is the head trauma thing there, right?
Yeah.
I've seen him get bigger knocks in football than I have boxing. He's had a few rocks lately because now he can bang, and so the older kids are starting to bang him back, and the experienced kids, he can get hit clean. But you learn about defense. You learn how to, you learn about getting hit. You learn about these things, you know. Getting hit is a thing, and it's not good for you. And obviously becoming a boxer, it is a thing. At a teenager, you don't get hit as solid than you are as men. But with amateur boxing, you learn about defense properly. You don't get hit clean. You don't get hit full on. It's only certain percentages you get hit. Do you know? And again, you're not going to do it forever. You know, and I do believe that the teenage years are a perfect years to, if you could compete solid.
Yeah.
And then
it's raising good men as well, because you're raising men that are capable, that are dangerous, but they can control that as well. They're not just going out getting in punch-ups in the street. It's like they know what they're capable of, but they can control it, and that's what makes a good man.
Oh, bro, the first times I was taking him to sparring, at a young age, would go to the gym. He wasn't going in there. Couldn't walk in the door. So obviously we'll drive home having a big argument. And then when he's a young age, I took him 2 or 3 attempts to go to other gyms to spar. And then when he started sparring, you know what I mean? The tears started coming. And then a few months later, this tears started going, and maybe just in the last round. And then now there's no tears, you know, at 14. So it's great. And, you know, you just an experience. And I love it. Like the other kids that come here, you see them, you know, the tears and all that. They're all hiding it now after a few fights. They all hide the tears, and I love how they can regulate those emotions. You know, we can all cry easy, you know, as a 14-year-old, but these kids that are competing, they know how to hide their tears. They know how to hide their emotions. They can get a hide in it. I'm good. They'll go in the bathroom. You know what's going on in the bathroom. They come out, oh, I'm sweet as. And I said, you be right there. Come here, give me a hug. Oh, man. Come here, don't worry. Been there many times. Gone in the mirror and getting, come back out. No, bro, I'm all good, man. I'm sweet. But yeah.
So if you were to sum up what fighting or what boxing gives you that nothing else could, like how would you sum it up? Like what are the attributes that fighting gives yourself?
Mental resilience, mental toughness, and it's a sport that you learn about respect, you know. And you're in a good environment. It's not a toxic environment. When you go to a gym, other coaches are giving you advices. You know, all the fighters go around and shake everyone's hands. There's not everyone in groups where everyone's, you know what I mean, like in football and that, and parents are talking about, oh, my son this, my son that, and groups of kids are hanging out and a little bit of bullying, and oh, you dropped the ball. It's not that at all in boxing gyms and boxing. You know, your son can get a touch up. The parent of that son is going to your son and giving your son advices. Hey, mate, you just need to move your head more. Telling his son, hey, just turn it down a bit. You know what I mean? These are the values and the principles that go around inside boxing gyms that I love. You know, my son's boxing, and you know what I mean. He's giving the kid a bit of a touch up, or he's a bit more experience. I'll go, hey, tone it down. Go to that kid, hey, bro, you know what I mean? And that's how you create relationships. But there's a lot of respect, and there's a really good environment. You know, not all, but most. You know.
And we talk about values. You mentioned values, but I want to ask you, like, as a father, what would you say is one of the core lessons or values that you want to pass down to your sons or your kids?
Well, yeah, fuck, man, you can, I don't know, there's probably a few. I don't know if there's one. Obviously it's just do the right thing, bro. Because if you don't do the right thing, you can't get away with it. Years ago, you could get away with not doing the right thing. But today, in today's society, it comes back on you. It comes back on you. You've always got to do the right thing. And you got to show them like what the right thing is too. You know, be respectful, help people. You know, you got to work hard. Money, you know, it's not easy to make. You always got to do the right thing, making money. It's just be respectful. Be respectful, do the right thing. Be respect. You know, it was handed down. If it's something that we all hand down from generation. And, you know, my father taught me to be a very respectful person, you know, in the hard way, you know, but that's how you learn, I guess.
And speaking about your dad, what was your relationship like with him? Because you mentioned to me around a story where he jumped in the ring after you got knocked out. So you obviously got a strong bond there.
Yeah. Well, my dad, like, we've always had a good relationship, you know. In life, he's shown me how not to be in a lot of ways, you know, that I've learnt from. But he's always showed me, you know, that he's loved us. You know, he's always been my biggest backup in life, my bodyguard. If a lot of things that happen, especially as teenage, he's been my biggest backup. If I've ever had an issue, he's there. You know, all in, old school. Let's go. Fuck these guys. Do you know what I mean? For a lot of things. I've had a lot of things happen and he's like, boom, let's go. You know? I remember one time I was at a party and I think it was like 15-year-old, and there was this big, big tough bloke going around knocking everyone out, And I remember I was just there drinking, drunk, and whatever. And next time, bang, I got hit. Wrong place, wrong time, got KO'd. Got up and didn't know what the hell happened. And then I just kind of, you got such and such hit you. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Oh, shit, really? I was kind of shocked, And then I went home, and mates took me home, and my dad said, what happened? And I was like, fuck, this bloke knocked me out. And it's like, get in the car. Got there. Which one was it? You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure he would have made me fight him first. I'm pretty sure, but he wasn't there, luckily. But this is the sort of person he's always been. But a funny thing has happened, right? So I had this fight. So I was fighting on the main event. Main event, Panthers, years ago. This would have been 2003, 2004 on Jason Lappin's show. Main event, pack show, Pen of Panthers, kickboxing. Fought an Australian title, and I'm fighting this big staunch dude called Felice Lemieux. Spencer Lemieux's uncle, right? That's why I'm a big fan of Spencer, because his uncle is staunch as. Anyway, I knew I was in for a tough fight, but I was more experienced, so I just had to keep him off at bay, and you know what I mean? Keep him out of bay for a couple of... Don't let him get me in the corners and all that sort of stuff, and then I'll just try and outskill him, outpoint him, and Anyway, so I'm doing that, and he's got me in the corner, he's come forward, he's thrown an overhand right, and then he's thrown another overhand right straight after, which is an unorthodox sort of combination. Anyway, I've head bloody floating back, and he's clipped me on the chin. Anyway, he's knocked me out. I'm out. I've talked about getting knocked out a few times, but I could take shots. Like I was fighting, he's had, 20, 30 kilos on me. And, so he's knocked me out. I'm asleep in the corner. I am snoozing. So I'm knocked out, and he's kind of looked at me and gone, oh shit, I've won. This guy's out. So he's kind of stood over me in the corner and put his hands up. Yeah, fucking yeah, Anyway, by the time all this happened, Dad's got down to the corner of the ring, and he's halfway in the ring. And he's, get the fuck off my son. I know this because I've watched the video. Because, I didn't see this, right? Because I'm La La Land. And then he's gone like this, and then his corner's come over, and then Felice's going, oh yeah, you know what I mean? And my dad's going, let's go, So anyway, they've gone back and forth in a wrestle. And then his corners ran over, and then my brother and my best mates ran over trying to hold my dad back, and then the cornerman's run over, and this big, staunch Islander fella run up threw a punch at big right hand at Dad, and Dad slipped it and come back with a combination, and back and forth, and big wrestle. And by the time then, the lights are on, the music stopped, the MC's, guys, and there's 50 dudes in the ring, right? Trying to stop this fight. Anyway, it all got calmed down. And it all got stopped. Meanwhile, I'm still snoozing in the corner. Someone's trying to wake me up. But I was out for like 1 or 2 minutes. And remember, I got up and I was smiling. I was like, oh, what the fuck happened? And then you get knocked down. I'm like, fuck, and all that sort of stuff. And I remember getting up. And then I said to my best mate, Stevie, and he's got that look on his face. And I'm like, bro, what happened? And he looked at me and he goes, your man ran in, bro. And I was like, oh, fucking really? He is, yeah, bro, going hard. And I was, it's funny and all that. And I was like, fuck, knocked out, and all that sort of stuff. And I remember going to see Dad like a couple of years later, and, and said, oh, because straight after I went on the 2-day bender. That's how I dealt with it. Went out partying for 2 days. Shouldn't have done that. It's a bit different these days. You don't go out, when your head's been rattled like it is. And I was up for 2 days going out drinking and parties and all that sort of stuff. But I remember seeing Dad. I said, what happened? He goes, oh, no, I was just seeing if you're all right, I said, oh, you ran into a fight? No, I was just seeing if you're all right. He sort of stood over you. I was like, fucking get off him, And then your mum's going, your dad's not to go, ever to go watch your fights ever again, Because Dad's got that crazy side to him, And anyway, so after all this, I was pretty bummed out about it all, getting knocked out in front of everyone in Penrith, it's embarrassing, I was like, fuck, I want to rematch this guy, because I was in me, I was like, fucking rematch, So I said to the promoter, I said, bro, don't worry about paying me or whatever, put all my purse onto, because they didn't want a rematch. The coach goes, no, fuck, we'll move on to other things, And it's dangerous for someone to rematch someone straight away. So I said to coach, because we were good mates. I said, bro, can you please, I need this for myself. Please, we'll get a rematch, Please. Okay, sweet as. Yep, we'll put up the title again. We'll do a rematch straight away. So I got the rematch, and, I'm fucking training the house down, because back then when I used to train hard, but I'd still party because I was young, single, and going out every week, Fighting was a bit different, because now amateurs are trained like professionals. Back then I was fit, strong, active, but going out every week drinking and whatnot. But this time I didn't, you know what I mean? I trained the hardest I've ever trained, ever. Because obviously it's a big fight, I was a little bit nervous, a little bit of fear at this guy. Training. Because, it's 5 rounds. I'm normally training for 3 rounds. And the week of the fight's on. Yep, it's got to be a good rematch, so it's going to be packed. Had some other big fights on as well. Penrith Panthers, main event, rematch. And then the week of the show, it's in winter, week of the show, the flu's going around. Anyway, I get the fucking flu. I'm like, okay, sweet. So I'm on, taking, fucking antibiotics and all that sort of stuff. And then it turns into that hectic flu. The hectic flu when you're lying down for 3 days doing nothing. And then it turned into the chest infection. I think the fight was on a Friday, and I'm, got bloody breathing the old school bloody Vicks and whatnot, trying to get this infection out of my bloody lungs. And I'm thinking, fuck, am I pulling out? I can't fight this guy. My confidence is way down. I'm coughing, I'm not training at all, I'm lying down, and my lungs are fucked. Do you know what I mean? But I'm like, fuck, I can't pull out. But I'm humming and hawing. Do I pull out? I'm thinking, not pulling out, I'll come right. And anyway, so I'm doing everything I can, then I sort of coming right Wednesday. The fight's Friday. I'm coming right Wednesday. So I'm doing everything right. I'm going to the hot bath and the saunas and, doing everything right. So I said to the promoter, I'm still going to fight because if I pull out, everyone's going to think I'm scared and I'm a pussy. So I've got to fight. I said, I've got to fight. I said, narrow the rounds down. We'll just do 3, it was for 5 2-minute rounds. I said, narrow it down to 3 1.5 rounds. Don't worry about the title. I just got to do the fight. Just 3 short rounds. I said, I'd rather it be 1 minute rounds if I could, but just 3 1.5s and I'll get through it. So it was good. So I'm backstage and I'm shitting bricks, bro. I'm shitting bricks. I'm nervous. My coaches, my best mate's more nervous than I am. He's going, fuck. You know what I mean? Rematch, I think that's a big, staunch Samoan bloke who's knocking everyone out. And I'm just getting off this friggin' flu. Confidence is low. So anyway, we fought. That was good. Went 3 rounds. Very close. Could have went either way. I won. They gave it to me. Could have went either way. But it was good because I in the last 10 seconds, I was like, yeah, put my hands down. And the coach is going, bro, fuck, what the fuck are you doing? Put your hands up. But I was just like, come on, try and knock me out now. So, it was good just to face my fears. Against a bloke that knocked me out. So it was good. I won that. So that was a good thing with, having principles and doing things for myself, And, so I fought him. And actually, I fought him again in the 8-man, and he knocked me out again later on. He knocked everyone out and won it. It was funny when I fought that guy because I fought the guy who was meant to win the 8-man. And I went 3 rounds with this bloke and I was fucked. And we were mates by then. And then he fought after me. And then he fought his opponent, knocked the bloke out in bloody 20, 30 seconds. And he was fresh as fuck. And I was like, I remember we caught backstage with the same dressing room. I was like, oh, fuck, because I was bloody worn and he was fresh as. And you remember he looked at me and he goes, oh, your leg's sore, isn't it? I'm not worried about my neck, I'm worried about my freaking head. But he got me again later. But, it's all about, having a crack anyway.
It's totally right. Just have a crack, jump in there.
So like these are war stories, fight stories from my experience anyway.
You got plenty of stories. And you even mentioned to me like owning gyms as well. You had one that got burnt down, one that got shot up. Like you've gone through a lot in your own fighting career, owning gyms.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, we've had one. Yeah, burnt down. I'd sold that gym to one of our boys. And then he went through a bit of a drama. It was in a bad area. So I had the 2 gyms going. This was Elite Fight Gyms, EFG back in the day. And then I thought, yeah, man, opportunity, 2 gyms. But, I had to be 2 places at once. So it wasn't the best for my mental health and my stress level. So I sold one to one of the boys and he ran it. Put all his money into it and then just had a bad experience with one of the guys there. And then just this guy's a bloody hard nut too, eh? Like, he's come to me, and he's a bloke who always used to say to me, you know, back in my country, you know, when he was in Australia, he used to say, back in my country, we used to do this and do that and hold like a gun up and no crazy. I go, oh yeah, I believe you, bro, I believe you, you know. He always used to say that. Anyway, I'm at the gym. He comes and sees me. He's got his head wrapped up with bloody blood, you know, coming through. He's got a bloody blood coming through here and blood coming through here. And he goes, hey, brother, I just got shot. And I'm like, what? So he's just taken over my gym by then. I've just got shot in the head. I'm like, what the fuck? And he goes, bro, look. And he had a hole in here. So he got shot by like a 22 or something. And it's ricocheted down the skull and it's come out that way. And he goes, it go here and it come out here. And I'm going, fucking hell. I'm freaking out. And then he's going, I don't know why. And I'm going, fuck. So I'm his only guy, one of the guys that he knows. So I'm in the area with, you know, all the staunch, you know, some of the staunch lebos and all that. And I'm like, fucking having to make a few phone calls that I don't want to make. You know, going, hey, man, fuck, do you know anything going on with the mate's gym? If we're not meant to be here, just say the word, we're out of here. You know, I just had to find out what the fuck was going on. And then I said, I'm helping him through. I'm freaking out. And then he's going to me, don't worry, I've got this. He's pulling out this freaking thing that looks like a freaking dirty Harry. I'm going, fuck, bro. You know, I'm going, man. He goes, bro, my life is in this place. After this, I'm out of here. You know what I mean? I can't have this happen to me. I said, because I wanted to pack up and go. So we've got insurance on the place, obviously, and he's staying staunch there. And I'm going, fuck. So anyway, later on, and then he's getting a few phone calls and a bit of an extortion thing going. We realised what was happening. And I'm like, hey, bro, fuck, let's just get out of here. And he's like, nah, I'm staying staunch to it. And I'm like, you know, he's got his mates after the gym, protecting him, you know, up the road and, you know, holding one of these things in his back pocket. And I'm going, fuck. Because he's staunch, you know, staying staunch. And then, and I get a phone call later. Hey, bro, fuck, they fucking burnt the gym down. So we're looking on the surveillance and looking at these two guys, you know, go through the side gate and kerosene can. And, you know, next one, whoo, the thing was alight. But this bloke got his insurance money and moved interstate. And then later become successful. Opened a couple of gyms up there, and you know, like he was an immigrant like me, and then got a couple of kids, and you know, doing bodyguarding, and made a lot of money in his gym, and owns like a lot of investments, and got a couple of investments, and they got other gyms opened up underneath his name, and he's a big name up there, and got a good name up there, and is successful and done well in life. So when he came out under us and fighting under us and then opened his own thing, he was on the verge of going back, and the coach looking after him said, can you look after this guy? I said, yeah, bro, he's sweet. Funny guy. The funniest, staunchest bloke you ever meet. So all this happened, and that's what happened with him.
Shit.
But we talk about this all the time. He's a well-respected person where he is. Funny bloke. Funniest, staunchest bloke I know. You know, and we laugh about this all the time. You know, and funny enough, when I talk about my gym getting shot up, it was because of the same bloke. So earlier, we've had it running, and this was back in the day where there was, you know, the like clubs and gangsters and all that were crazy back in the day in the era, you know, And we get a lot of our guys to fight with guys from clubs and all that sort of stuff, and I have to go deal with this shit, you know. I'm not staunch, but I'll always deal with it, but I'm not staunch, you know. And this particular guy got into a fight with a club who was high up. You know, give him a touch-up. He's a pro fighter. Give him a touch-up, and I knew, like, oh. So I'm holding him back, and then, you know, he gave him a touch-up in 20 seconds, you know, and then this guy's gone back to the boys and gone, hey, fuck, you know, it's us against them sort of thing. And I, you know, had meetings with guys and big staunch guys saying, hey, and I've gone, hey, man, you know. And then, you know, later on, I never got dealt with, and then fucking, I've seen this guy, and I've kind of disrespected him a bit. Didn't go, you know, shake his hand. I was like, no, fuck, you know. And then a day later, fucking 8 shots put in the bloody window. And I was like, fuck. So it was an ugly feeling. It wasn't, no one was around and all that, but, it was obviously a warning, but it was ugly. Mrs. is freaking out, all that sort of stuff. So I was like, so I had meetings with people again saying, hey, I kind of knew who it was, or who I thought it was. I knew who it was, or who I thought it was. And had meetings with people, and I said, I've done this and do that. I said, we've got these guys involved and all that. And I said, well, if you take this any further, we're going to come for you, right? I said, yeah, no. We're good. And then, so that got stopped. Anyway, but this guy was after the same person. And a big thing was he didn't like, this is what I think happened, because their guy that was doing a lot of things around at the time, the big serious stuff of, you had a problem with that, they'll come and sort it out. And I stopped that because I spoke to the guy, I knew who he was, and I was like, hey, our guy, this is what happened. So he's got no disrespect to any club or anything like that, he doesn't know. So it was, it wasn't his fault. So I put a stop to that. So I think this guy who I thought did it had it in for me. But it's funny, years later, things happen and then you get to make amends and forgave the guy and we shake hands and all good. There's things how if you escalate, take things further, it can end up really ugly. And this was another example. And I've had that things in the business back in the day, you'd have a lot of fallouts of people in business and it can be ugly and stressful. And a lot of our stressful times in businesses, ex-business partners. Yeah. And it can be so fucking ugly, bro. It can be ugly. And it's good later on, and you kind of just, you put that negative energy into a positive. And, if you got negative energy against something, as long as something crazy hasn't happened before it escalates, put into something negative. Do well, bro. Success is the biggest revenge on, a lot of people, revenge isn't a good word, but you know what I mean? When you just do well, when things have panned out later on where, like we've done okay in life, and it's good to sort of finding, I've had guys on my mind, I fucking like them guys, and you got guys, you meet people you don't like, and you had fallouts. But as soon as you do forgive those people, shake hands and, man, all good, move on. Bro, you don't even think about those people anymore. Gone.
No.
It's good when you can forgive someone, shake their hand, and they're just out of your life, bro, because they stay in your head. Forgiveness is a big thing. So long as it's nothing crazy. If someone really does something crazy to you, well, fuck, that's different. But when it's just business shit and money and all that, he said, she said, sort of, you just got to forgive people, Yeah,
forgive, pick your battles, and as you said, focus on yourself.
Actually, what I just said there, about, nothing like crazy or a big thing, a good friend of ours like Danny Abdallah, you know what I mean? He's everyone knows what happened with his, his story and what happened to his kids and his family and stuff, and his big thing, I Forgive Day's next, it's coming up. But, I know this guy, it's because we used to train together and stuff, and he was an awesome dude, like a pro fighter, and he was the nicest pro fighter, like, I was an amateur, he was pro. The nicest dude, and when that happened, I was like, far out, I shocked the country, right? And he's a big advocate for, I believe, he's a very, like religious person, and, he's a Christian man, and with his faith and forgiveness, and, he spreads the word of forgiveness, because he said if he wasn't be able to forgive the driver, was at fault, he wasn't being able to forgive this guy, this person will be in his head every morning he wakes up. And of what he's gone through in life, a lot of people who suffer mental health, past PTSD, a lot of guys have had a lot of experiences or go through things, but fuck, look at what he's gone through. And look at the path that he's taken. Hey.
I couldn't imagine going through that.
The path of forgiveness, the path of going out and helping other people, the path of his, spirituality is a very strong, when you're spiritual, it can help you get out of a lot of that. That's the ultimate power, And him being able, going to, when he went to the jail to, spoke to the driver, forgiveness. He now, is strong and has followed him in faith, because he said to him, I want what you've got in strength. And because that happened, I think there's a lot of guys, because he's on, he's got to be, he's in protection. A lot of guys want to do something to him. And because he's, then he's forgiven this driver. And this guy's followed Danny's faith. and all that. A lot of guys that stopped. You know what I mean? I think that's helped like protect him in this side. You know, and what I'm saying by that is it leaves a good positive path
Yeah.
for everyone. And part of Danny going around and speaking, and he goes to goes to jails and speaks to a lot of people who have had kids pass away and stuff, and helps and empowers them. So it's good the path that he's chosen, because there's a negative path and there's a positive path, and he's a good advocate and example of
forgiving
and very strong, powerful man, that bloke. And
forgiveness is very, very powerful, and especially from his point of view, being a Christian man and being very in his faith. Like, Jesus forgave everyone, and he's following in Jesus' footpath by forgiving as well. And it's very powerful. And there's a lot of amazing people like that in our community. And you get to come and speak and be involved in the community, and it's coming back to everything that you do. It's amazing. And I want to ask you, like, where do you want to take BroFit? Like, we're sitting here in the OG BroFit gym. Like, where do you want to take it?
Well, like we've got. I want to open in Newcastle and Bankstown, and makes me feel privileged that these people could come to us and, hey man, we love what you're doing and we want to run this business ourselves. We've got one opening maybe in Nowra, and May, June in Canberra, which would be awesome. So we want to, we're trying to franchise or license out. So I'd like to just grow this as a movement, Like, I'm not about money in business. I've always been about the journey. I'm always about doing cool shit. So, like, sometimes that's worked against me, but in life, bro, money's not everything, bro, Everyone wants to grow their business, but I'm always about a powerful movement, and being, to have started, and been on this journey together. I'd love to just, I've taken time off the tools for about 3 or 4 months to sort of grow this. But I'd love to just grow this, to have gyms open up everywhere. That's what I'd like to do. And then do the business model and be a part of it, where we all gang up so we're part of a strong, powerful movement. So it's not only just a gym or a franchise or whatever you want to call it, it's a standard. And standard is where, we've got our values, we make everyone aware and help everyone with mental health. Not mentoring, the youth and stuff, but just keeping accountable to keeping, good relationships with your family and fit and healthy. Because if there ever was a year to be fit and healthy with what we're going on about politics and change and diversity, it's fucking 2026, bro. With what's going on. So much toxicity like in the environment, with the food we eat, with the plastics, with what's around, and with the division and the governments all around the world. Look at New Zealand, look at UK, look at America with Donald Trump and everything. Fuck, we're going to bring World War III. This year's a year to be very resilient, fit and strong, and be ready for that change, because if your mind's not 100% on, it's hard to do everything else. That's my view on it all.
No, I agree. And God, there's so much more that we could speak into, but as we start to wrap up, and we've touched on a lot of this throughout the podcast, but if a bloke's listening to this right now and he's barely holding it together, he's gone through a really dark patch, what would you say to him?
I would say, man, obviously you're you're not alone. I mean, take that deep breath and do the right steps, bro. No, you know what? You're not alone. Everyone goes through this, bro. Don't think that it's just you. You know what I mean? Like, life is just throwing these curveballs at you. We all go through it, bro. Everyone goes through different stages in life. We can be here talking about it, thinking, yeah, we've got our life under control. Not at all, bro. Not at all, because everyone goes through stages. And if you're in the stage, start taking the right steps, bro. You just got to remember, it's no one coming to save you, man. You've got to sort your own stuff out. But if you got good people around you, not all the time you have good people around you, bro. Someone can come and help you, pull you out of that rut you're in, But But not everyone's, is blessed to be in that position. So you've obviously self-care, bro, exercising, speaking to people. There's a lot you can do, bro. Sleep, nutrition, exercise, everything else. There's so much you can do. But there are a lot of, groups out there, such as ourselves. There's the men's walk and talk. There are so many groups to reach out. Remember, if ever you hit rock bottom by yourself, and sometimes you don't know what to do, everyone thinks, I need to talk to someone. Bro, you ever hit rock bottom, take yourself to emergency. Take yourself to emergency, bro. And sometimes you need to be locked away. Say to the emergency, or take yourself straight to there's like the risk assessment, like triages, down in Penrith, like at the pen. You take yourself to the risk assessment place there, where you say, hey man, I'm a danger to myself and I'm a danger to society and people around me. So they get a security guard and lock you in, because sometimes you need to be locked in, you know what I mean, to sit with yourself. I've been there a few times with different people, but I've been at that fucking, like an emergency for freaking 2 days, waiting, sitting there. And you think, how the fuck can you be down there for bloody 48 hours? And I think, this is part of the process, bro. When I've realized, taking the realization, you get to sit there, you got a guard looking after you, so you're not allowed out. There's a guard's going to follow you. Once you assess that you're a risk. And sometimes you need to sit with yourself. It's pretty hard to sit with yourself by yourself when you can do whatever you want. But down there, you can make your own coffee, you make your own tea, and then who's there for you, and then you talk to the person, It doesn't matter what, you can be on your phone, you talk, and you get to talk to people that are coming in, some crazy people that come in, all sorts from all walks of life. Someone will come in, it's emergency, you sit there and you talk to people. And it's about that sitting with yourself and talking through things and going on, realizing, fuck, I'm not the only one out here. And that's a part of the process. And then you go to the steps, and then you'll get assessed by a psychologist, and then you go through this, and then you might be down there for fucking 4 days, especially what's going on today. There's a lot going on, man, when you go down the bloody emergency, department. But there's so much help out there. But it is reaching out. When you got good awareness, people can come and say, hey, bro, I'm here there if you want help. But people who are really aware, they understand it, give the help. Hey, bro, fuck, come in with me. Nah, bro, I'll pick you up. Let's go. That's you can offer help. But also, if you do, there's no one around you, take yourself to emergency. Or reach out to one of your bros. Hey, man, right now, hey, bro, can I just have 10 minutes of your time? Hey, man, fuck, man, I'm feeling like shit now. Fuck, do you know what I can do? Do you know any good resources out there? Or what do you reckon I should do, bro? Because I feel like shit right now. There's shit going on in my head. Bro, what do you reckon I should do, bro? And that creates that, you know what I mean? Then that gets your mate on board, because your mate or the person may not know what's going on. And that starts the ball rolling, bro. Because a lot of people just want to deal with themselves, deal with what's going on in themselves. But a lot of people who struggle, and we all go through it, bro. We're not all fucking hard and resilient and all that. We can all get ourselves out of the struggle, but sometimes curveballs can go our way, and it's fucking hard. I can sit here talking about this stuff, but who knows what can happen with your relationship, such as you. Man, if I went through a hard relationship, I don't know how I would cope, bro. I can sit here and talk about it, but I don't know how I'd go. I would be in a struggle. So, I'm blessed that I'm not in that position. I'll do everything I can that makes me not get in that position, But life can be cruel on you sometimes. You don't know what the fuck's around the corner.
Definitely. Tama, thank you, bro. Thank you for this conversation. Thank you for everything that you do. And this is why I wanted to have you on the podcast today, to show people what you actually do. I know a lot of people see it, but to have this conversation and to get an insight into who you really are in your life and your experiences and the war stories and all that kind of stuff. And it just goes to show that, like, you've got this way of bringing men together and also bringing men back to themselves, which is so important. And I really appreciate everything that you've done for me as well. And I'll say that again. Thank you.
But I appreciate you for, saying those nice things, and for, like believing and doing what we're doing. But appreciate you for doing this, being in this industry and following your passion. Because you're a good speaker, and you do this because there's the purpose behind it. There's lots of ways of making money and all that sort of stuff. So I believe, you know, you're the same as me when it comes to purpose, and you've helped me before I ever met you. I've followed your videos for ages because that's what we do as men, eh? Especially on social media, we watch people on videos and watch what they say and stuff. So you offer a really great service for businesses, but I love your purpose, and I love your passion, and thank you, bro.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate it.
Cheers, mate.